Best episode yet, guys, as some questions have been answered. What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys my review on this past Friday's episode of WandaVision Ep.4, as the mystery has been revealed to us, and we get the MCU debut of Sword. Oh my god, guys, this was a great episode. What's even more crazy is that it even was breaking the fourth wall in a sort of sense. Not quite, but it kind of was. And by that, I mean it was breaking the fourth wall in the fact of the sitcom we've been seeing with WandaVision, while not breaking the fourth wall as we get to explore the outside world of the MCU from what we know that's going on in Wanda's so-called reality. And the reason I say that is because it's finally been confirmed, even though we all pretty much knew it at the hint of episode 2, confirming in last week's episode 3. Nevertheless, though, love the episode. Great way to bring back so many characters and introduce us to Monica in her adult years now. As we knew Monica at first, it was back in Captain Marvel when she was still a kid and being raised by her mother. I forget, unfortunately, her name, but I'm glad they gave us some history on her as well as more explorations on what happened in the MCU as a whole when the blip happened. Because we were only shown in the movies that everyone seemed to be okay. No one was panicking or anything. But in this episode, at the beginning of the episode, we were given the realistic view effect of what happened when the blip happened. There was confusion, there was chaos, there was frustration, people were scared, etc., etc., etc. You name it. Because that was exactly what was shown to us as we found out that Monica was a victim of the blip while her mother wasn't. And then not the blip, but the snap. My bad, guys. But either way, in the blip, she came back and she's just like everyone else. She was thinking she was just passed out for just a few seconds, not knowing what was going on. And then she just runs out of the hospital where she was in where she was in a room, and goes out, and everyone's just coming back. Chaos all over the place. But unfortunately, this is where we got the news that the reason she was in the hospital and in that room, because that was the room of her mother, because she was fighting cancer during the time when Monica was disappeared through the snap. And she gets the unfortunate news that her mother had died 3 years ago, and that was 2 years after she disappeared from the snap. So yeah, that's a lot to process, and a lot of things to process, as everyone's just confused as to what's going on. And that just shows the both positive and negative effect that the Avengers had when they brought people back. But hey, eventually I'm sure everyone was able to get their heads around it, even though it would probably take them some time. That's for sure. But now, having said all that, let's go ahead and talk about Sword, as finally we got the introduction of Sword in the MCU universe. I do remember them saying they were going to introduce them in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then they decided against that. And you know what? I'm starting to think that was a good thing, especially considering what the thing is Sword is facing right now. It fits well in with their introduction here. But first off, talk about the history and the fact that Sword existed right after what happened in Captain Marvel, as Captain Marvel's friend, Monica's mother, was the one that founded Sword and was the director before she passed away, and then gave it off to someone else, a guy named Tyler, who is familiar with Monica and is the one who pretty much assigns her to the mission of finding out what's going on in Westview, where Wanda has altered reality in that town. And also in the fact that as soon as she gets there, we get the introduction to a friend, a good character that I loved in Ant-Man&the Wasp, being Jimmy Woo. But don't worry, guys, we'll talk more about him later. This is all about Sword and Monica right now. Either way, she's caught up to speed with Jimmy Woo here, as he tells her about what's happening, on how these cops don't seem to know that West are saying that Westview doesn't exist, even though the sign is right there, right behind them. And I'm just like, okay, that is just weird. And what's funny here is Monica wasn't happy that she was going to be grounded. She was thinking she would still go back to space work and everything, but that wasn't the case, and she wasn't happy. But I'm sure as soon as she got there, she was like, you know what? Maybe this might not be so bad after all. Because, yeah, that definitely wasn't so bad after all, as she soon found out when she sent one of her helicopter drones in there. And yeah, if you're looking at this helicopter drone, you're thinking the same thing I am, as yes, it's that same one we saw in episode 2 of WandaVision. It's just got a different color to it, meaning that as soon as it went into the force field, somehow it was changed up, like maybe the armor was broken off or something. But nevertheless, as soon as they found how it disappeared and she got closer, she saw that force field. And next thing you know, she's pulled in there. And that's where it led into her being in there, and to the point where she got kicked out of there by Wanda. Which, by the way, we see how that happened. Even though necessarily I don't think I really needed to see. You could already have imagined it in your head when you saw it in last week's episode, how Monica was just shot out of there. But in a way, it still needed to be shown for those who still wanted to get to see it, or just to get an even better confirmation knowing that this is all Wanda's doing. But nevertheless, still though, when Sword found out that Monica had disappeared in that force field, that's when they came in trying to find her. And then it even explains that guy in the manhole cover with that whole beehive cut with that whole bee protection suit on him, as he tried to go through the manholes to go through that force field. And when he did make it through there, we're seeing it from his perspective, how everything just looks realistically normal, the colors and everything, until it slowly went into the sitcom style that we saw in WandaVision's episode 1 and 2. It's nuts. It's nuts, I tell you. Wow. But now, having said all that, time to go into the part where the stars of the show were shown in this episode right here. And that was, as I said, Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp and Darcy Lewis from the Thor movies. The first two, that is. Yes, guys, those two were the ones who stole the show for me. And why do I say that? First off, Jimmy Woo, when he first made his introduction, introduced himself to Monica, what did he do? The same thing Scott did. He's learned the close-up magic technique. That guy's so hilarious, dude. And then, of course, we got Darcy, who, despite the fact that she had no purpose for being in the Thor movies whatsoever, which I didn't notice at first until a friend of mine told me about it, that I was like, yeah, you're right. She doesn't have a purpose. I don't know why she's in there. Well, in this one, she had a purpose and she had a spot to belong here, because it was because of her they were able to start to see what we were seeing. Basically, all those spots at the end that we were seeing of Sword were happening as time was going on in the episodes 1, 2, and 3 in there. They were watching it. And all I gotta say is, first off, Darcy, I love the actress who plays her. She is amazing, and I love the sassy attitude she has for Darcy. Oh, I think I'm in love with this woman. Hey, judge me all you want. That's just how it is. Either way, though, the chemistry between Jimmy and her was amazing here, as they were both watching that and everything. Everyone was just not like interested. Sure, they watched it, but they were hoping to get some information out of it. While in the meantime, mostly Darcy, sometimes Jimmy, they both were just watching it and just enjoying it. Mostly Darcy, as I said, because she was just enjoying the heck out of it. Which, by the way, let me just first off by saying, Sword, what's wrong with you guys? She wanted her coffee. You never gave her a coffee. Come on. Especially in the fact that it was her. Because of her, y'all actually got somewhere with all this. But nevertheless, still, how they were doing all this and how it gave us answers to some of the weirdness that happened in episodes 1, 2 was fun, was a good thing to show for us. As everything was happening there, it was happening during Avengers Endgame to the very prior beginning of WandaVision to everything that went on at the beginning of WandaVision. Love this stuff. Love it. As, like, for instance, it was because of Darcy that Jimmy was able to get his voice through to Wanda, thanks to that radio that we saw back in episode 2 he used to contact her. They tried to get to her thinking that someone was doing this to her, but no, that was all Wanda. And this is where they learned that anytime something looked like it was showing something of reality, which Wanda's not wanting to face, it would skip through her. And whereas we saw rewinds as the viewers. Oh, so much funny stuff going on there. But then this is where things got to the point of where I told you guys, where Monica revealed things and then shot out that she was finally able to tell Sword how it was all Wanda's doing. And this is where the episode, while it ends, it still gives us a little showing of how much that Wanda has been hurting, knowing Vision is gone and she's not accepting reality. As for an instant when Vision came back, wondering where Monica's character was, and Wanda telling him she left, we get a brief scene of how Vision was when he died in Infinity Wars. And all I gotta say is, like I said before, Wanda, I know you're grieving, girl, but come on, this is not right. But I guess we should be lucky it's just a town and not the world like it was in the comics. Jesus, girl. But even still, though we finally got the answer to this, it still makes me think there's more going on here than meets the eye. Like, for one, when they were showing this little fourth wall breaking scene of showing the missing people and showing them as the characters saying that this guy plays this guy plays that, it makes me notice something, and that is Agatha. There's no driver's license for her or anything. I'm thinking she may have something to do with this too. Who knows whatsoever? Because this is just episode 4. 5 more episodes to go. There's still got to be more going on here. Even in the fact of Mephisto, I still believe somehow Mephisto is involved in this too. And as for who will snap Wanda out of reality, I don't know, but since this is supposed to be a direct tie-in with Doctor Strange, I'm guessing Doctor Strange? I don't know. All I just know is we got a lot to look forward to here, as we've had questions now answered, and now we got more questions, or better yet, new questions with no answers yet, which is what I love that they're doing here. They are taking out one half of the plot and introducing us to another half that we still don't have answers to. So I am definitely liking how they're keeping us invested in this. It's enjoyable, it's lovely, it's loving. I could talk about all day, but I'm going to just go ahead, guys. Stop right there. And hey, if you enjoy my videos, all you got to do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. And until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye.